I came from China as an atheist. I believed nothing but science. I was studying the structure of eye in med school, and I realized that the human eye is so complicated. Trillions of cells has to line up perfectly for visual signal capturing and interpretation. If any one of those cells gets out of line, the person will be born blind. It was formed with a specific purpose for vision. So there's a designer, a creator behind that. And I start with my journey believing first there's a creator, there's a God, and later on, more specifically, the God is in the form of Jesus Christ. And Christ has died for our sins so that we could have a chance for eternity.
As a former atheist, I would like to prove to you that God exists using this. First, I'm going to draw the golden ratio rectangle. The golden ratio rectangle, we can find remarkable proportions if I take the length of the rectangle. The also curious thing about this is that if we now connect the point here to the bottom left corner, this geometry actually works. And because it works, I believe it is the most compelling testament of a creator I could ever get.
This is the proof that God exists that you've been waiting for. NASA confirmed it, the mathematics prove it, and what I'm about to show you will shatter everything you thought you knew about reality.
Peace, what's going on? I'm coming across a lot of content from science-leaning theologians. Science-leaning theologians. These are the types of theologians that would call upon statistical improbabilities. The chances of the eye existing just by chance is impossible. The Fibonacci sequence, it is so structured and patterned. It's impossible for it to be a consequence of chance. It's impossible. Therefore, there has to be some type of intelligence, some type of creator that created these things. Humans have a way of projecting themselves to rationalize their idea of life, but I digress. You know, the chances of an eye existing, or even a human existing, or even a car existing, or a tree existing, are zero. 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 Right? Does this call upon the idea of an intelligence being behind it? No. You see, it's the human that looks for patterns, that looks for sequences, that tries to make logical sense out of the illogical unknown. It is the human that creates these numbers and ideas of science and mathematics to create their own language to speak to the unknown X, to then make it make sense to themselves. But it all goes back to this point. Can you prove that life is happening outside of the use of life to prove it? Can you? I digress again. The chances of an eye existing, or a human existing, or a car existing is zero. We're not dealing with a life that functions off of probabilities, statistical probabilities. We're dealing with a life that presumably occurs as a consequence of possibilities. Possibilities. All of this is because you perceive it to be. The idea of sequence and logic and preciseness, the correct conditions, isn't because of an intelligence being behind it, orchestrating it. This is the human projecting themselves. As you are perceiving it, it is an aspect of life complementing itself, expressing itself and complementing itself. The idea that there is some type of intelligence or a God or a supreme architect or a grand architect of the universe doing all of this is the human projecting themselves. The idea that this phone could not exist unless I made it. Therefore, all of life could not happen just by itself. It had to be someone designing it. Science-leaning theologians. To the very point, life is not happening, but we believe it to be happening. Therefore, it is happening. But as we are perceiving it to be happening, when you're looking and you're seeing patterns, you're seeing statistical improbabilities, you're seeing the impossible being manifested right before you, the very structure of the eye itself being so precise in its design, it's not because somebody made it. Life complemented itself to be as it is. as we are perceiving it. But nonetheless, all of this never was. All of this never was. If you weren't perceiving life, life would not be. If you didn't write God into existence, God would not be. It's as simple as that. And when your perception fades as if it never was, all of this never was. So to the dogmatics and the science-leaning theologians, you never really answered your own questions. You stayed in the space of unknown. No matter how many words you labeled over things, no matter how many equations you created and answered for yourself, it got you no closer to answering the impossible that is possible, which to you is improbable. Life is possibility, a possibility that never was. Oh, look, I can prove that God exists by doing this equation. I can prove that God exists by drawing a spiral. Shoot, I can prove that God exists by writing, in the beginning, God created. Why does God have you all doing this Finding Waldo mission? Why does God have you all doing this Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? Why God got you all doing that? Oh, look, I can prove that God exists because, come on, man. Shit. Come on, man.